giving humanitarian aid is a very complicated business. Okay, first, if you give, this is about Gaza and everything, you decide, these Palestinians are suffering, we want to help them, get them medicine, or, hospital supplies and food, that sort of thing, right? So you send the money over there, and whoever gets it says, great, now we don't have to spend this money on hospitals and all this, we'll spend it on arms. Then you think to yourself, well, wait a second, if we send it over in that form, we'll send bandages, antibiotics, other hospital supplies, and meals ready to eat so that they can feed people, The problem with that is sometimes if whatever channel it goes through, sometimes it's diverted and goes to the black market. So in other words, you have this pallet of meals, the military MREs, and whoever gets it sells it to someone else, and then they use that money for weapons. So it gets complicated. The U.S. has developed this humanitarian daily ration, and what it is it's one pack, and there are two larger envelopes, it will say, in it, and retort pouches, and it's basically got nothing in it that the world religions don't like. So in other words, there's not going to be pork in it. That's going to allow Jews and Muslims to eat it. It's not going to, I think a lot of them don't have any meat, so if people are vegetarians, they can eat it. So basically, what you get is 2,000 or so calories in this one package. And it's like, well, they were dropping them one time, and they colored them bright yellow because they wanted them to be able to be seen. And unfortunately, that was the same color of these explosive devices that they would drop, the enemies would drop in different places. So if someone went over to pick it up, it would explode and kill them. So they recently changed the color packaging on these MREs so they won't look like these bright yellow bombs that people are hoping people will pick up and, be killed when they do it. So it's just very difficult to do because you have so many other factors. And here's something, remember CARE. One thing they found out one time was if you go to like a port, they'd go to an ocean port let's say they're going to Africa, and there's this city on, near the coast, and they've decided that's the distribution point. So this whole ship just full of them, a huge amount of food goes down, hits on that city, and starts passing out food. Well, what you ended up having, in some ways, it hurt more people than it helped. And people starved because you had that food there. Now, how could that happen? Well, people would abandon their farms or what little they had to get to this place where food is being distributed. So, people would stay there basically until the food's used up. Then they go back to their place where they live, and the animals wouldn't have been cared for. The animals would be dead. The garden would be full of weeds or whatever. But they went back, and when they got there, they ended up in a worse situation than before when the food had not come. So it's just very complicated. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but it's like you got to realize who you're giving these things to, and if they have any morals at all, and why they won't just shift the money over to the military. You always hear this argument saying, well, we can certainly feed everyone. We just have to stop this military thing. We could cut it out of the military budget and feed everyone. It's kind of like, well, that isn't the way it goes. If politicians cut here, supposedly to go here, it doesn't really do that usually. If we abolish the military completely and all of the costs, we're not going to make planes or bombs or anything, that doesn't necessarily mean the poor are going to be fed any better. I mean, you know, because like I say, the money, for the public defense, it isn't automatically going to slide over into this, this column of feeding people, giving them health care and all those types of things. People say that it will, but it doesn't. It never does. And it's like, there are just a lot of plans that people have that don't take into account man's nature. And that's what I'm saying with all of this. There are people that are honorable, that go above what other people will do and make sure things will happen right and stuff like that. But, we're not necessarily dealing with a lot of people who believe that. And they're more interested in what they're interested in, and that's to continue conflict, get better weapons, kill more people. And so there you go. And like I say, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's very problematic to do it, and we should find a better way of doing this type of aid so that we can make sure that the aid actually goes, the money or the food, the rations, whatever it is, actually ends up with the people. That's why a lot of times with these humanitarian daily rations, they drop them from planes or whatever. They'll just there'll be a pallet of them, and that whole thing will have be launched out of a transport type plane, and that whole pallet is on a parachute, is going to hit the ground, and that way you can move things around. So at least some people are going to get it. They're in different areas, but maybe that probably wouldn't work in Gaza, because Gaza's too heavily populated, and you don't want to be dropping these things on people's heads and things. But tell me what you think. How would you, we're being more hypothetical here, so you don't have to make it strictly about Gaza, but how can you actually help people that are involved in this conflict who may not necessarily be in favor of the conflict? Or should you help them because they're the ones that elected the government that's there? Very tricky. Bye.